The introduction of the 10 new sub roles in Overwatch back in February shifted Overwatch from like this one passive fits all for the role towards a more optimized categorization of the heroes. However, when you solve one problem, you create a new one. And rigidly categorizing a 50 hero roster into fixed archetypes introduced balance bottlenecks. It's gonna take a lot of tweaking to get right, and it only took them until last week, May 12th, for them to finally fix and nerf the Initiator sub role, because that one was by far the strongest up until this patch, this sub role. That's why Diva was a menace, Hazard as well. Other ones were pretty decent and whatnot, but mostly Hazard and Diva were the big problematic ones. So with that in mind, I thought it'd be a good time now to actually do a tier list based on the sub roles. Right, we can rank them all now, so we can talk about which sub roles I think are great, which ones are which ones are good, sorry, which ones are situationally good, and then weak compared to the rest of the cast. All in all, I'll also touch on some heroes that I think that are miscategorized. Maybe you guys can offer some suggestions as well, and which heroes naturally benefit the most from their sub role and which heroes benefit the least. So let's begin. All right, we're gonna start with the Initiator sub role first, because the Initiator sub role consists of Diva, Doomfist, Hazard, Winston, Ball. I think the Initiator, even after the nerf last week, which finally tied it towards the abilities themselves. So right now, the only healing you get is 50 healing, I think. It has a 5-second internal cooldown, and it's tied to specifically Diva's boosters, Doomfist Rocket Punch, Hazard Violent Leap, Winston Leap, and Wrecking Ball on the grapple. However, the big thing is like some heroes here are still going to benefit more than the others. For example, Diva's booster cooldowns on a 4-second cooldown versus someone like Winston, where his leap is on a much longer cooldown before it goes in. Not so much during primal. Same with Doomfist. His Rocket Punch is normally a much longer cooldown. However, he can reset it after getting enough empowered charge. But if you punch, activate the passive healing, and then punch again, it won't activate again without that internal 5-second cooldown. Now, pre-nerf, this was a little insane, because pre-nerf, you could do it by just dropping from high ground. So a lot of reasons why Hazard was super OP is because you would just start high, or you can wall climb just for half a second, and you would just keep popping it, and then once you leap in afterwards and do your whole engagement, you would heal again. And it used to be more. It used to be like 60 or I think 70 HP. But that being said, I still think the Initiator sub role is great for the tank role, so I'm going to leave it there. The next one is going to be Bruiser. Now, this one is also great. This one's also one of the much stronger sub roles in the game. That's the Mauga, Orisa, Roadhog, Zarya. This one is when they are less than half HP, they move faster. It is absolutely insane. And they also have headshot damage reduction. Remember, pre sub roles, all tanks had headshot reduction. Now only these guys have headshot reduction, which means these guys down here in the Stalwart actually kind of get pummeled if they're not careful. But because these guys are naturally tankier when compared to the rest of the cast, is why Orisa feels super strong. Mauga's super meta right now, incredibly powerful. And you move faster while below half health. Like, that is so much power added to these specific heroes. Like Roadhog previously, before they changed his major perk to Hydrogen Exposure, it was the one where he would just suck on his vape and gain move speed. When you combine that, like whenever you were low HP on Hog with the Bruiser sub roll, and then you sucked on your old vape with the old major perk before they removed it in season 2, he was able to just glide across. And all in all, this Bruiser sub roll, incredibly powerful. I think the one that benefits the most is most definitely Mauga, because he is a pure sustained character with the haha, with the cardiac, and if he's ever below half health, he can actually, while he's shooting, he can actually start strafing pretty fast when he's below half health. Insane. Orisa's crazy, can no longer be headshot. When you combine that with the spin and then the fortify, unbelievable stuff. And same with Zarya, of course, right? You can actually chase someone down. When someone shoots you back, like you actually can't catch up to them or whatnot, right? And then they try to like retaliate by shooting you, then suddenly you just get a random burst of speed to chase them down. Like, that is insane for her power. So yeah, Bruiser, an amazing role for the tanks here. That's where I place that. Next, the Stalwarts. Now this one can be situationally good, but I would actually argue it's on the weaker side. I think this is the weakest role passive by far. This one's the one that probably needs to be looked at, or the other ones need to be tuned down to kind of match. So what sucks with the Stalwarts is that Stalwarts specifically is knockback and slow resistance, which I think all tanks should have on by default. But like, when you think about the knockbacks and stuff, like some of these heroes can't be like he can't be CC'd when he charges. Orisa can't be CC'd when she presses Fortify nor ulting, and she can't be CC'd and you can bubble to cleanse it. So like, you know, they just had so much power from Bruiser, and they basically like don't really need anything from Stalwart. And the fact that like that was a given to them in the old global tank passive, and now it's only these specific heroes. But however, if you're a Stalwart, you don't get the Bruiser benefit of being half health and getting movement speed, which I think Junker Queen could benefit the most. She would actually be crazy buffed if she got moved to the Bruiser sub role, and arguably Ramantra as well could be fantastic in that. Actually, all in all, I just think Stalwart, like getting knockback and slow resistance, could be a tank wide passive still, because tanks still have a natural passive, right? Less ultimate charge by healing and damage received, increase health and roll Q, blah blah, but less ult charge given plus knockback and slow resistance should still be a global one in my opinion. And then you move the Stalwarts onto the other one. So Domina, not really Initiator, just put her on Bruiser, 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 and Bruiser, and I think we'd be okay. You could probably nerf the Bruiser overall if you're gonna slide these over down there, and then maybe like because it's gonna be stronger, you could nerf them individually as heroes if it's too strong in the category. But yeah, overall I think Stalwart's a really weak one. Like slow resistance, okay, but like who really slows you in the game? There's like Mei, the Hanzo major perk, Frost Arrows. Like there are obviously some slows, but it's not as much as you think. And then the knockbacks, yes, can be a little annoying, especially when you play against like a Lucio, for example. But in some matchups, let's say you play against like an enemy Ana, Kiriko, Echo, and Tracer on the enemy team, or Pharah, like none of them are going to be slowing you anyways, nor knocking you back really. Okay, Pharah has a knockback, excuse me. But like this is so situationally, okay, kind of nice to have, but overall weak when you average it out in your average matchups that you play in the Stalwart category, that overall this one by far just not doing too hot. I'm going to put it in the weak tier. Now we move on to the specialists for the damage roll. What do we have on specialists? We have Bastion, Emre, Junkrat, Mei, Soldier, Symmetra, and Torb. Overall, I think this perk is, this sub roll is one of the better ones. I'm going to put it on just good. I think like, you know, after you eliminate them, you get the fast reload speed. I think it's strong. It helps you snowball. It's better on certain heroes when compared to others. Someone like Soldier can benefit a lot. Same with Emre, Bastion, Torb as well. Honestly, actually, they all benefit quite well from it because it's like Symmetra can beam you down and like quick reload and keep up the beam. Maybe Torb is the least beneficial because his turret's always activating and you can interrupt his shots with like his ultimate, for example, which is always nice to have. But overall, the sub roll is one of the better ones. It's a good one. Not much to add to that. Okay, next we have the Sharpshooters for Ashe, Cass, Hanzo, Sojourn, and Widow. This is the one where every time you hit a critical hit, it reduces your movement ability cooldown. So this would be Ashe's coach gun, the roll, the lunge, the slide, and then the grapple. So the slide one is kind of insane for Sojourn simply because it is you get two of them with the dual thrusters. Obviously the amount the cooldown is reduced with the critical hits is proportional to the damage it does. So like the small SMG bullets don't reduce the cooldown as significantly as like a rail headshot, but like giving them higher improved survivability by headshotting is kind of cracked in my opinion. So I think the Sharpshooter one is honestly great. Always having your movement abilities available, so strong. Really good, complements a lot of the heroes really well, so we're gonna put that over there. Next, I think we have Recon, right? Is the order correct here? No, we have Flanker next. You can see how much I play DPS. So next we have Flankers, which is Anran, Genji, Reaper, Tracer, Vendetta, and Venture. This is one where if you take a health pack, it restores 75 more health. This one's actually really good for mostly Tracer, Genji, Anran, the ones who can reach the health packs really fast. Honestly, these guys can too. Reaper, not so much. Usually he'll like go into an engagement, then he'll have to wraith out, and maybe he could TP to a pack and disengage. But overall, I don't think these are miscategorized. I think almost all the DPSs thus far are good. And honestly, like this is pretty solid. As long as you know where all the health packs are, the minis heal 150, which is like a bulk of the HP for most of the heroes. But obviously, Venture, Reaper, they have a little bit more base HP compared to someone like a Tracer, who is a base 150. So like the mini health pack is a true 100% heal, which is kind of insane. So she benefits the most by the flanker role with the health pack. One thing they could do, if they want to tune it properly, is to do like a proportional percentage of HP. Again, remember how we had global like passives? Now that these are sub roles, like you could probably specialize them a bit more and do it percentage based, because they're all actually not equal as well. They all don't have equal HP. But yeah, to overall summarize, I think Flanker is a pretty good sub role for now. And finally, we have Recon. I think this one is on the weaker side. I wouldn't say weak, but it's situationally good. I think it's really good on certain heroes and not so good on other ones. So the ones I would say benefit the most are probably someone like Pharah for sure. If you chuck some rockets and then they duck behind cover and now they're marked, they have to be tagged and they have to be half health or below half health after the tag first. Echo can be nice, but what happens a lot of the times is like Echo's going an assassination and then they'll like throw the stickies into the beam and they're already dead before they can get around the cover. Not so much. Freya shoots from super far away. It can be useful for Freya if they get nailed by a single long range shot and they decide to re-peek. When you play against her, you should know not to re-peek because then she can time and line up her next shot waiting for you. It doesn't benefit too much for Echo. Like it can certainly benefit her, but because of her playstyle, not so much. Freya, yes. Pharah, very yes. Sierra, not so much. Like if you mark them with the auto thing and you see them behind the wall, like your shots don't go around the wall, so it's not like not as useful as you think. So I don't think it benefits Sierra as much. And Sombra, this is just basically her old passive, so like it kind of just sucks that like her old power just kind of got like neutered because all the other heroes in the role kind of have it as well. So I know a lot of Sombra players were complaining that this passive did nothing for them. Like everybody else, quote unquote, got like an increase in relative power, but her relative power stayed neutral while others got stronger, which is an indirect nerf to her. And it's why Sombra, even though she's banned by the majority of players, top Sombra players, not enjoying her right now, and she doesn't perform very well in the high rank. So yeah, I think the Recon role is on the situationally good for some heroes, but like honestly on the bottom half. I think one thing they could do if they want to bring up this sub role to be like good and decent with the cast that has it is maybe if they go below a certain threshold and they've been recently tagged, everybody suddenly gets vision of them. Arguably could be a little strong, but maybe when they're literally like not even less than 25%, like less than 10% HP or something, and they can only be revealed to everybody who has recently tagged them, for example, in addition to the Recon hero that tagged them. So what I mean by that is, let's say there's a 250 HP hero, you as a Pharah tag them 120, right, with a rocket, and then somebody like I don't know, like your friendly Ana, your support, freaking shot that same target recently. And now that they're below a certain threshold of health, maybe 10%, maybe 25%, 20% health, now suddenly they have vision of it because your Recon hero recently tagged them, and we can fine tune that timing. That could be a pretty cool change on paper. Maybe it sounds maybe a little too strong in practicality, but that could be something to kind of bring everything up, especially if we want each sub role to feel like meaningfully different and powerful. Anyways, that's just where I'm going with that. Maybe I could be totally wrong on that regard. Let me know if that sounds a little too obscene in the comments here. Okay, next we have the Tactician for the support. So this is the one where supports get 25% overcharge, and I think for your next ultimate, and I think this is weak, and the reason why is because the other ones are really strong, and I'll talk about that, A. And then B, like the medic and the survivor role when we get to it are like insane for like healing yourself, while all you get is just being able to store excess ultimate charge. And what's worse is that the excess ultimate charge, when you start overfilling, it comes at a reduced rate. It goes a little slower. You can't see it on this page, but I think if I go in game, let me double check it for you. Store excess ultimate charge, bonus cap of 25%, but it's reduced when you slow down minus 25% while you're above 100. We didn't need to do that. I think this is the weakest one because the old support passive overall was global healing, or healing after not taking damage for 2 seconds or 3 seconds. So old Ana, whenever I poke and, you know, do damage to an enemy and I took some damage, instead of nading myself, I could not peak for like 3 seconds and then I'd start regenning HP. But now, because that's gone and we have all the sub role for her, you have to not peak for 6 seconds, which is the global default rate, not 3 seconds, because supports used to get half the rate of time of being out of combat. Because you have to wait 6 seconds to start self-healing, sometimes you're kind of forced to nade yourself, which makes you lose opportunities to use it offensively. So literally your only option to ever heal yourself right now is Ana. Go out of combat for 6 seconds or nade yourself. So that's why I think the Tactician sub role is by far the weakest. When we take a look at something like the medic, healing allies with your weapon also heals you. I cannot express how powerful this is. I'll grade that one in a second, but I just want to show the relative survivability options supports have versus the other ones. But like Ana, for example, like when Overwatch season 1 started in February, I felt Ana and BAP were super weak off the rip simply because you no longer had like Ana self-healing was just the nade. Like, we're not waiting 6 seconds out of combat. Baptiste was the regen burst, but he does have lamp, so it wasn't as bad. Jetpack Cat also is decent with the purr. The self-healing is kind of insane because, like, obviously Ana has to use an offensive nade or nade herself. Like, when you use purr as a cat to save yourself or you heal a teammate, you are self-healing a lot. 225. You basically go back to full health as well. And she can escape and actually go out of combat and actually not be like, Ana has to be out of combat for 6 seconds, but Cat can pick somebody up and that's out of combat, but still contribute to the fight. It didn't affect her as much. So Tactician, honestly, is pretty good on Cat only. Like, that's about it. Everybody else kind of sucks, but Lucio, you know, he stays on the heal aura. Not as bad. Zenyatta, I did feel like it was kind of rough having Tactician. So I felt like Zenyatta, although he performs quite well in Metal Ranks because he's an offense-oriented hero, he just was not picked in high elo because he was so squishy and he would just die and fall over if you weren't careful. So, like, overall, I just think Tactician is just not as good. But one thing I did forget is Zenyatta as blue HP shields, 175. You see the health regeneration delay is 6 seconds on default. That's the global one. But shield HP regens much quicker. I think it's, can't remember the exact number right now, but let me double check for you. Okay, out of combat now. 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, 3. Yeah, 3 seconds. And then he starts regenning. So he's still like, kind of feels like the old one. So that's why I felt Ana. Everybody asked me why I stopped playing Ana and only play KarQ. It's because like this Tactician sub role is just not very good. And it hurt Ana the most out of all the heroes compared to her old power level. Now, one thing they could have done to probably fix or at least buff Tactician is remove that reduced ultimate charge gain rate, or if you're gonna have store excess charge, maybe like the fact if you sit on your ultimate at 100% charge, maybe a small benefit like a 5% movement speed boost, 10% maybe your base movement speed goes from 5.5 to like 6 or something like that, or maybe some of your HP turns into shield health. I don't know, something to give them more power to kind of like incentivize them to sit on the ultimate. Obviously you want to use ultimates in the game, but it reminds me of that stadium item where like when you sit on your ultimate, you get other perks or benefits. Vanadium injection, I think is what the stadium players call it. If you know what I'm talking about, you know what I'm talking about. But overall, the point being, this is by far the weakest sub role, which leads me to the strongest one, which I think is Medic. This thing is OP, by the way. Medic sub role, so dang good. And KarQ is the biggest culprit right now by far. I want to just show you guys how much you can heal. So KarQ is why she's valued so high in high elo, and is because A, she could teleport to get out of danger. Ana has no movement, right? So she has to self nade. So I can teleport. B, I could Suzu myself. C, I can wall climb to get out of danger. Okay, Ana can't do that. And D, the medic sub role, 40% of your healing dealt heals you. So I'm gonna show you guys the power with urgent care. Projectile speed increased by half health. This guy's less than half health. I still take Foxtrot mostly, but I've been taking a lot more urgent care, but I usually take Foxtrot, but I'm gonna show you the power with Ready Step, okay? Swift Step grants KarQ 40% increased attack speed and reload speed for 3 seconds after TPing. 40% attack speed means your Ofudas come out faster, projectile speed's increased, blah, blah, blah. So let's say, for example, I'm in danger. Boom, 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 boom. My papers right there basically just healed me 40 HP. I'm at 115 right now. Hold on, let me take damage again. By 72, bang. I do a heal. That's like 36 HP. That's because there's a 30% reduction on it. But now if you do something insane like this, where if you're ever in danger, you TP Suzu, which is 148, and then you just heal this person in front of you. Like usually when you TP to a teammate, they're not at full health. You heal even more. So basically, if you're ever at like 50 HP as KarQ, you can basically go back to full health yourself by just doing this. And I'm at 198. I had to wait for my cooldown, so it wasn't the cleanest demonstration, but you get the point, right? TP to get out of danger. Suzu heals yourself, and then obviously the medic sub role when you just unload your papers, and you have unlimited ammo on this, right? You never have to reload. There's no downtime. You're always self-healing. You take some chip damage. Oh, no problem. I'll just pocket somebody, and now I'm healing myself like crazy. Now I'm full health again. The survivability on this is insane, and it makes medic by far the strongest sub role. I know I was making all this noise about like buffing Tactician, but what they could do additionally is just nerf the medic sub role. Like if there's a tier above, I think medic is up there. I think this one's broken. Survivor is also great. If this wasn't up here, like Survivor is a good way to kind of do it, tying it to an ability similar to Initiator. Basically what this does is it makes it so when you press your abilities, a certain ability, the movement one, you start proccing the base healing. So for Illari, that would be her Outburst. The moment you press this, the movement ability will start the passive health regen. The passive health regen is 22.5 HP per second. That is a lot. That is better than Wu Yang's passive heal stream. It is stronger than Lucio's base healing, Mizuko's base healing. It is a fantastic survivability button. And then you have Illari's Pylon chucking at you at the same time. Brick can hold up her shield and proc it off a shield bash. Juno can press the glide boosts and go out of cover and start healing like crazy. You don't really have to be out of cover for very long for these things to activate, like quite literally. And Juno has shield HP too, so that's also gonna help you a lot. Like I'm at 111, pop this, I can just be out of the fight. Like I'm back and I don't take damage right away. Like I'm already full. Like that healing is really good, and it's tied to this, but you don't have to do anything. Just the moment you use it, and in combat you are going to be using your abilities, right? In combat you are going to be using your abilities. Sometimes you'll have to activate it to save yourself, but just activating a movement ability compared to wasting your own nade to heal yourself as Ana versus the shield bash, which is on how short of a cooldown. Movement ability for shield bash is 5 seconds to proc the passive, 22 HP per second. Outburst is 8 seconds. Juno's glide boost, 6-second cooldown. Mizuki's Katashio return. So this one is 12 seconds, similar to Ana's grenade for the self heal, 12 seconds. However, Katashio return gives you point A, point B, and you're always passively healing as Mizuki anyways, naturally from your aura. Plus every time you obviously bounce that, the bounce back will always keep you up. So your sustain is never really a problem. And then Wu Yang, it's tied to just the rushing torrent, which is on an 8-second cooldown. But Wu Yang can also heal himself with the wave, which sometimes you do need to do. But like overall, I think all of this is just propaganda for them to buff Ana. But I do think Ana is like pretty solid when played correctly, when she's untouched. Like I know I'm making all this noise about how weak it is. She's just the best example I'm making. And I do main Ana, of course, or one of my few mains. But like hers is the easy example to go after. But like Ana can still be powerful if she's played in a comp where like an enemy team has no flankers and they can't reach her, then you can still pop off and play well. But like in super high elo and professional play, they protect the Ana like crazy because she has no tools on average, but that's like the super high level. But on average for the majority of players, like Medic and Survivor are just much easier and safer to play, aside from a couple of tacticians like Cat maybe and Lucio. But these three, a little bit harder, but she's the hardest by far. But anyways, enough yapping. I think you guys get the gist of what I think they could do to it. I think Survivor is fine the way it is. Medic, they just need to nerf maybe the healing back of what you get, maybe 33% of the healing down. Even 25% would still be better than nothing, because it's kind of crazy to tune that power down, adjust the Tactician, and yeah, I think I'm pretty happy with how this tier list kind of turned out. But yeah, the best ones are Initiator. It used to be Initiator up here in the SS plus tier, with Medic at the SS plus tier, Bruisers here, Sharpshooters here, Survivors is great as well. Specialist Flanker, then Recon. The Stalwart Tactician are probably the two weakest ones. Okay, let me know what you guys think. We can add to the discussion. And yeah, bye-bye.